Brandon getting the
sensitive.
makeup done! It feels nice, right?
Yeah.
My favorite part.
I'm getting pampered.
So this vlog was filmed with a Sony a7IV, and honestly, it's become my favorite camera to vlog with, mainly because of one feature that I love about this camera. All right, back for episode five, right? 5 of the lowdown? Episode 5? Episode 6? Episode 6 of Lowdown. I don't know numbers anymore, but yeah, check out this huge TV. This is the 77-880.
Asian for scale.
But it's so massive, and look, it's super thin too. It's like, hey, it's not even there. I don't even see anything. It's so thin. Oh, hey, Brandon. Hey. But it is massive. Are you ready for episode 6?
I'm getting there.
Let's do this.
Just trying to remember all the words. You know, a lot of Sony
Words,
naming.
numbers, letters, all this stuff.
My name is Jenna. That's all I've got so far.
Okay. All right, we'll just say, hey, my name is Jenna. My name is Jenna.
I'm Brandon.
All right, a little S&Q action for you right there. But now you want to know my absolute favorite feature of the Sony a7IV. And no, it's not the 33 megapixel sensor, although that's pretty cool. No, it's not the focus breathing compensation, although that's really, really cool. And no, it's not the new focus mapping feature, which is also really, really cool, but rather the 11 different custom modes that you can set up and use with the Sony a7IV. 11. Now, if you have this camera, you might think, wait a minute, 11? I thought there were 9 different custom modes that you could set up and use. And technically, you are right, but you're also technically wrong. So on this camera, there are 3 different shooting modes. There's photography mode, movie mode, and there's S&Q mode. And in those different shooting modes, you can set up 3 additional custom modes for photography, for video, and for S&Q. And if you do the math right, then yeah, you'd have 9 different custom modes to use with the Sony a7IV. But not many people realize that if you switch the mode to M, or manual, for photography and for video, that gives you 2 additional custom modes that you can use for photos and videos. Also, how sick is my setup? You like that? It's pretty cool, right? All right, I'm just gonna turn on the Ninja 5 Plus and record my settings so I can show you. All right, so now we are in photography mode, and I'm gonna go to manual setting. That's the M on the mode dial button on top. And with this mode, this is where I manually set the camera for photography. And so if I wanna change the shutter speed and have it be different to the ISO and f-stop, this is the mode that I use. But oftentimes when I switch from video mode to photography mode, I don't really have the time to switch up settings, especially if the situation that I'm in requires me to take a photo really quick. And in those circumstances, that's where I want my camera to automatically set the ISO for me when I just don't have the time to set it myself. And with that said, I'm gonna switch to custom mode number 1 on the dial, still in photography mode. And in that mode, the only settings that are automatic are the white balance and the ISO. The shutter speed and the aperture remain the same because I often like shooting at a lower aperture and I wanna control the shutter speed if I need to. But if I don't wanna think about the white balance or the ISO, this is the mode that I use to quickly take a photo if I'm switching from video mode to photo mode. Now moving on to custom dial number 2, this is my thumbnail mode. And in thumbnail mode, it's pretty much similar to my settings in the first custom dial mode where my white balance and my ISO are automatic. But the only thing different in this mode is that I'm shooting at a 16:9 aspect ratio because for YouTube thumbnails, the aspect ratio is 16:9. So if I'm taking a photo specifically for thumbnails, it kind of makes sense for me to shoot in the aspect ratio of 16:9 so that I can compose my shot properly for taking photos for my YouTube thumbnails. Pretty cool hack, right? Like, I mean, that's pretty cool. And then finally, my last custom dial mode for photography mode, which is custom dial number 3. And in this mode, I've set my shutter speed to be at 1/4 of a second. And I don't use this setting all that often unless I want to show motion in my photos. Like in this shot over here, I've set my shutter speed to 1/4 of a second because it's stable enough for me to shoot handheld while allowing that motion blur to be in my photos. And so if I ever want to shoot photos to allow that motion blur in my shots, then I'll just go to custom mode number 3 in photography mode. And if I want to go back to shooting thumbnails, I'll just go back to custom dial number 2 or go to my photography settings with the automatic white balance and auto ISO. I go to custom dial number 1. And if I want to manually set my camera for photography, then I just go back to the M button. Easy. Now, video mode. So I'm still on the M on the top dial, and I'm going to switch the bottom dial to video mode. And because I'm in manual mode, I can totally switch out all the settings if I want to. But since I film a lot of talking heads in this studio, I just set my settings to be in this mode so that I can refer to it every time I go to M on the dial mode. And there are many times where I have to set my camera manually to film different scenarios, but oftentimes when I vlog, I really like using my custom dial modes, and I'm gonna show you what they are. So for custom dial number 1 in video mode, I've set it where my ISO is automatic. Like I don't want to think about going from outside to inside and then changing my ISO like right then and there. Like here you see that I'm filming in an XAVC S4K in 24p. I've got my shutter speed to be 1/50th of a second for a proper motion blur. Aperture is set to f2.8. I'm shooting in S-Cinetone because I really like shooting in S-Cinetone lately. And then the only thing that's automatic is the ISO. Obviously the lens cap is off and so the ISO is like going crazy right now. But when filming S-Cinetone, you want to make sure that your exposure is either set to 0 or -0.3. Here, let me just take off the lens cap and show you. All right, so on my exposure dial, I've set it to be at -0.3. And that's where I usually see S-Cinetone perform the best, when it's either exposed just right or slightly underexposed. But here, I'm just gonna go over here to these curtains, and you're gonna see the ISO increase a little bit, and then I'm gonna go down to the white table over here. Now the ISO is going to decrease. And so yeah, I really like this setting for vlogs because whenever I do go outside to inside or I transition from a different scene, I like knowing that the only thing changing is the ISO. And so yeah, so that is custom dial number 1 in video mode. And then moving on to custom dial mode number 2 in video mode, we have 4K 60. Now I know a lot of people are like griping about 4K 60 crop. Like, okay, sure, it would have been better if it was full frame, but I actually don't mind 4K 60 crop. And whenever I do want to film in 4K 60, that is the mode that I use. And then for custom dial number 3 in video mode is of course 120 frames per second in HD. Now the Sony a7IV IV does not shoot 4K 120 like the a7S III. Such a bummer, but at least I get to film in 120 frames per second, in which case those settings are set to custom dial number 3. And so now in video mode, if I want to shoot at 120, I go to custom dial number 3. If I want to shoot 4K 60, I go to custom dial number 2. If I want to go to 24 frames per second in 4K, custom dial number 1. And if I want to manually set the video settings in my camera, I just go back to the M on the dial. And now moving on to the last shooting mode of the camera, and that is S and Q. I love using S and Q for like time lapses. It's just so easy to use. You don't have to worry about taking interval photos and then piecing them together in post. Like everything is done for you in camera. And so I'm going to show you my custom dials for S and Q mode. Now I don't use the manual setting for S and Q mode because S and Q and video mode are exactly the same. So if I'm shooting manually in video mode, those settings will go over to S and Q mode. And so that's why I don't really touch that. But with custom dial number 1 in S and Q mode, this is where I film my time lapses. Now the video settings here are very similar to my other video settings, but this is the mode where I film my quick time lapses like this segment over here or this scene over here. This is the absolute best way to film those time lapses because everything is done within the camera. And if you want to share it with your friends or send that clip to your phone, you can easily and quickly have a time lapse segment without having to do any of that stuff in post. So cool. And for custom dial number 2 in S and Q mode, this is where I get to film 4K 60. Again, if I don't want to mess with that in post, I just want to have slow motion, 60 frames per second, straight away from the camera. This is the mode that I use. And then of course in custom dial number 3 in S and Q mode is my HD 120 frames per second setting. Again, if I don't want to mess with that in post, I just want to have slow motion footage straight away, then these are the modes that I use. 11 custom modes that you can use to vlog with, take photos, take thumbnail photos, time lapses, all that because of the Sony a7IV IV. Now I'm still working on my setup guide and it's probably going to be the best setup guide for this camera, so stand by for that. It's gonna be a 2-minute setup guide. Not even kidding. I'm gonna help you set up your a7IV IV in 2 minutes or less, or your mattress is free. But in the meantime, back to the vlog. We got Jenna filming pizza content, pizza influencer, you know, Jenna is Eric.
Here we go.
You got it.
I'm so sad if I dropped it.
So we just wrapped, oh, it's kind of dark. Let me fix this. I don't know what I'm doing. Okay, well, we just wrapped an episode of The Lowdown. Just hanging out. Brandon did a great job. It was really fun. So now we're just hanging out, eating pizza.
And some fries.
We are gonna go to this incredible ice cream place after this.
Because we like ice cream, and so yes, we're gonna do that. But yeah, thanks for watching.
Wait, no, bring him to the ice cream.
Oh, okay. I guess the vlog is not ending. Okay, we're gonna bring it to the ice cream. Okay, continuing the vlog, we got our ice cream sandwiches. It's delicious. It was good. Thank you, Brandon, for hanging out. Jenna, oh, I can't see myself. Anyway, I'm just gonna assume. Anyway, that's it. That's it for this video. Hello, Brandon. Hello, Jenna.
I'm so happy.
I know, it's so cool. All right, guys. See ya.